talking about modifying data, or the way it's called in GraphQL, mutations. So that's kind of a joint term for 4 different verbs from REST API: post, put, patch, and delete. They're all wrapped into this mutation action in GraphQL. If you think about it, reading data, it's kind of easy. There isn't much that you can do wrong there. You just need to kind of optimize if you have a lot of data. But writing, kind of, it's tricky. From the obvious part, you're allowing people to delete stuff on your sites, on your database probably, and you need to be careful with that. But even more with accepting inputs, because first, obviously, security is the obvious part. But the second one is you have to be really, really sure that what you are accepting, that it's valid for your domain. Because once you accept it, you have to support it. We'll show a few examples what that exactly means. But the main thing is you have to validate kind of business rules. And you have to be very, very strict about it, and be very kind of adamant on what data you accept. A few things I want to show here before we move. So we are continuing on the class 3 from previous time, but if you skip that, you can just clone this repo here. That's where we kind of left it off in the previous class. I want to mention this here. So by design, there is, nothing specifically preventing you from modifying data through query. The same way you can modify data through get in REST. But that's a really bad practice, because a user wouldn't expect that. Kind of in general, in software engineering, you want to avoid surprises. But also, you should mark your transactions as read-only on read-only actions. But in GraphQL, it's specifically difficult to predict what will happen, because usually query will happen asynchronously. So it's kind of a scatter-gather. But if you're using mutations, it's guaranteed to be sequential. And you can see it here, that if you would do these 3 actions and you send it in a query, there is no way to know in which order they get executed. And that's a big problem, because you can try to delete a person before creating it, and you'll get an error here. Then after that, you'll create a person, depending how you handle your errors. You'll create a person, and it's basically, it's unpredictable, and we always want to avoid that. And everything else, you can follow here, but let's start coding. So I'll just move myself away so we have more room. And let's reset this, because I was trying some stuff. And so we are at class 3 branch, and we are continuing there. As always, we'll update our schema with kind of actions that we want to expose. So let's first, the way we define mutations, it's kind of very consistent. We define queries by defining a type query. Obviously, we can define a mutation by defining a type of mutation. And let's first do delete movie. We will pass in an ID, which will be mandatory, and we will return movie response. We'll make that mandatory as well. Response. I kind of explain it in the course as well, but I want to mention it here. There is kind of a convention, but mostly on the Relay React side, to name all of the responses as payload. I kind of don't like that, because payload can be anything. Payload can be both request and response. I mean, obviously, that's not a hard convention, because we would follow it. So I kind of like response. So all of my responses, permutations, I'll mark them as response, because it's just self-explanatory. When somebody reads it, they immediately know what it is. Let's define this. And we will define a type, and we will expose success, which is a Boolean. We'll mark that mandatory, and just marks was this action successful or not. We'll have a message of string. Let's make that mandatory as well. String. And just deleted ID will be an ID of the deleted movie. And we won't make this mandatory, because if we didn't delete it, we'll have it as null. And then you can use this on a front end. There are automated ways in Apollo or Urkel to clear cache, but we won't go into that now. Next, we'll create a person. I was thinking to create a movie, but there is just like too much scaffolding there, too many fields, and it would just be complicated, too complicated for this like short class. So let's create person, not movie, person. We'll have an input of create person input put. And we'll make that mandatory, and we will return just a regular person. Let's make that mandatory as well. So you can see here that we have a special type for input. By specification, GraphQL doesn't allow regular types in inputs. So by kind of specification, it's forcing CQRS. Which on a high level just means that you should have separate entities, separate DTOs for your writes and opposite for your reads. So kind of you should have that separated. And that's usually a really good practice. You can use scalars, and that's the reason I kind of wanted to show that here. So I just used a regular ID here. I could have wrapped this into an input field and maybe provided a string optional reason why are we deleting this movie or similar, but I kind of left it this way. Let's create this input. So we will just copy everything except ID here, because ID will be generated on the server side. Let's to speed this up, so we will just have an update. So same here. I could have done this maybe. This is also a valid pattern. So I provide an ID, which is a mandatory, and then the same input, because it's shared. this is a good pattern. I sometimes use it, but here, let's create a separate DTO just for this. So update person input. Let's create this input, and this one uses all these fields, and actually, no, name is not mandatory here. So actually, yeah, we couldn't have shared this because name is mandatory here, but for updating, we don't have to pass the name every time. So actually, it was a good decision to have this separate. And the last thing, let's have a delete person, which again will just take an ID. And again, something that I just wanted to demonstrate. So obviously, I could have had delete response, kind of a more abstract, generic term, but usually it's a convention in GraphQL not to try to group things. This is just easier for future. It's easier to extend, and also anybody kind of looking at this will know that, so this is a response from an action of deleting a person. Don't try to be too generic, because in the future, this will be much easier to extend. For example, for delete movie response, we might add some additional metadata that doesn't apply for deleting a person. So I'll just copy this below and replace. And that's, I think, everything. The only thing that we are missing, since we are doing a CRUD on person, I don't think we exposed within person. So let's expose people as an array, a list of person entities. And I think that is everything that we will cover in this. It will kind of give us enough to see most kind of basic scenarios for mutations. So let's try first to implement this one. So delete a movie. Since we will be adding some business logic, we don't want to do that in our controller. So like until now, we were calling our repository directly from our controller. If you have really, really simple scenario, I mean, that's fine. But usually you want kind of a service layer because your business logic should live in your service layer. So let's create a movie service, movie service. So, yeah, so we will want some logs there. This is a service. We want constructor. And thank you, IntelliJ. But it's not that smart now anymore. Doesn't matter. We can do kind of a hacky quick win. So I will just movie service. This will be a movie service. And we will do this, this, and this. We won't do this here anymore. We'll do it on the service side. And let's create this method. Create this method. And we will create this method, and we can immediately. So obviously for queries, we have query mapping. So it's kind of easy to assume how how it look for mutation. So we just have literally mutation mapping. So we are returning, oh, actually we didn't create our records. So since we are adding some types here, and they're kind of temporary DTOs, a really, really good fit on Java side for that is records, because they're just simple, kind of immutable objects. So really, really good fit. So let's create this here. So we'll create a record that has a Boolean primitive, which is a success string message and long deleted ID. Wherever you can, use primitives. So obviously I use a primitive here. They're just cheaper than objects. But here, since we didn't mark this as mandatory, so obviously it's nullable, I can't use a primitive long because this can sometimes be null. So I need an object. So here we're returning delete movie response. It's delete movie, and we are passing an ID in, and we are returning, so movie service, delete movie, and we are passing an ID in, movie, and we'll create this as well. And I think that's everything on this side, so we can start working on our service. So this will return find all. This will return perfect. So for now, we will just return null here. In the next class, we will add some error handling. So for now, this is kind of sufficient. And this looks good. And here as well. So for now, we'll kind of try to keep it simple. So let's, why is me adding an extra space? So we can do it here. Maybe I like it more opposite to have it if it's not present. No, actually we have better. We have exists by ID, and we pass an ID. We'll move this below. So let's return no delete movie response, obviously false because it doesn't exist. Movie not found for ID and null. To have some loggings, and why true null null? Movie deleted. So this hopefully I spelled that correctly. And let's just add an ID here. So far, so good. Let's try to run this to see if we got it from the first time. So do we have, okay, yeah, we didn't do this yet. We didn't do this yet, but we'll do that later. Maybe we have it. Let's try it. So we have movies here. And now the difficult decision. Which one are we deleting? From these, maybe this one just because it's a 13. So lucky 13. So we're adding a mutation. And so we are deleting a movie. And we, as we said, 13. And let's select all three of these. So it says that it was deleted. So if we do get, and we actually deleted it. So now we can play around a bit. So if I do this again, so obviously it's not found, but we say it's still that this is idempotent because nothing changed on the server side. Obviously our response changed, but that's not the definition of an idempotent action. It just kind of measured what happened on the server side, and we didn't change anything. It's been deleted, it just doesn't exist. So the same thing would happen if we type some like insane number. And yeah, I was thinking that should we demonstrate that, I don't know, if we don't pass a string, but we'll talk about error handling in the next class. So far, so good. So we continue. So obviously next we have to create these. So again, quick hacky way, and I drag it here. We want a record width. So let's have that here so we can see which fields I need. So we need a string name. We need an integer birth year. And we need a string nullity. And again, update. We just want a long ID. I think that looks good. We have created this. So we didn't have a person controller. So let's create that person controller. We might want some logs here. This is not the REST controller, it's just a controller. And let's create just required arguments constructor. Again, if you don't like Lombok, just don't use it. I just find it like really useful for this. You can do a lot with records, but records don't help you here. So I would need a constructor to inject a dependency or auto-wired. I just like injecting dependencies through constructor injection. That's kind of a better practice because you get a compilation error and so on and so on. So you don't have to use it if you don't like it. So private final, we want a person service that we'll need to create person service. And I'm writing gibberish. So what did I write? Final. Come on. Oh, let's create. That's not the Maven dependency. So we want person service. And again, I want some logs here. This is a service. And oops, required. And here we want a repository. We want, it's faster if we do it from here. So list of person, which is not person, then people, which is method, return person service, get all people. We'll create all of them together. This is our query mapping, and we did it right from the get-go. We want a mutation mapping for, why is it offering update person and not create person? But let's go with it. So return person service update person. So, and it's not request body, it's an argument of update person input, actually like longer names, and something is wrong here. We'll have to see. Oh, probably because we have to match the name that we had in the schema. I just like them in the order that we have them there. So create, we have create this one and this one, and we just need our delete. Ooh, I like this. So return person service delete ID, and come on, what are you? I don't want to do that. Sometimes, yeah, I like IntelliJ, but sometimes I don't like it. Long ID. So that should be it. Let's create this. We create this. We create this, and let's just code this. This might be too verbose, but it's a demo app, so usually like these kind of things, I mean, let's keep it actually. I would usually have this like on debug. Sometimes I don't need this on info, but sometimes on debug, it's very, very useful to see that you got this far. So this is get all, this looks good. Again, this, so what do we want to return? Person repository, save, person, builder build. What did I do? I want this. I want this. And let's have a name. What happened? I don't want an ID. So name, input name. This is also some stuff that sometimes I manage to make IntelliJ do this, but more often than not, it's just I don't want this. So no, I managed to no, I forgot how I put the shortcut to format. So I'll just do it. Let's code just everything in, and then we'll discuss how can and should we improve this. So here, I think we will want to get this one first. But also, we need to discuss a few different things here because let's just leave this one for now. Return new person. And we can do delete. And what do I want here? So I want, again, do we want to check if we probably do. So again, we might change this in error handling, but for now, a lot of this stuff, it's kind of a business decision, but often I will try to just demo different behavior. So I might make some things that in a real world app, we would decide what's a correct business rule. But let's prevent deleting people that are added as a director or an actor on any movie. And that will just be part of our service validation. There are 3 different levels of validation. Let me just show that here first. So we'll talk about this a lot. I think it's here. When a request comes in, the first thing that happens is it's validated against the schema. If it's not valid against the schema, it's rejected immediately. So obviously, bam, done. But if the request is valid against the schema, then we go into our bean validations. At the moment, we didn't implement these, and we'll discuss where and why we might do these. Again, if that's not valid, bam, done. But if we pass that level, we go into our business logic, and that's actually our service layer business rules validation. And there we kind of have those little business rules. That's the reason I mentioned it's kind of debatable. Does this provide business value or not? But here it's more kind of let's demo this. So as I said, so we will prevent deleting person entities if they are mentioned on, if they're added as a director or an actor on the movie. So in the person repository, we will need to add a method that, so yeah, basically these are 2 places. So we need to find directors are defined here and movie cast is defined here. So in the movie cast repository, we need a Boolean exists by person. And what do we do? We want to provide a whole person or an ID. I think an ID might be enough. But let's, for now, do a person. But I think just person ID probably is sufficient. Let's do movie repository. And again, Boolean. And we want exists by source containing person any directors. And this is valid now. So I think that looks good. This will check if the person is a director on a movie, and this one will check if it's a cast on a movie. So we can check that here. So first, if just offer me something. Yeah, perfect. Delete person response is false. I didn't put this in quotes. No. Person with an ID. And we provide no. What did I do wrong? Oh, we want to delete this. Did we do it in the controller? We did. Why are we? How was this mapped? Delete person. What did we do here? On delete person response. How did ID map this? That's the reason I didn't notice it. Obviously, we want this delete person response. Person service. So if our person exists, so here, I can do better. So let's find by ID. This should return optional. Person optional. If person optional is present or is empty, we will do this. But so if we have, did we inject this? We haven't. So let's add private file movie cast repository and private file movie repository. So if, what's more probable? So obviously we want the one that it's more probable first, because that will save us often one database query. So we have more cast. So we do cast first. So movie cast repository, we check exists by person. And let's just do here person optional get or movie repository. And this is by directory containing person. No, let's use it. Person is to a movie. Okay, and if we pass all of this, then we allow deleting a person and we return our ID and we want here deleted successfully or successfully. Successfully. And I didn't spell that correctly. Successfully. So far, so good. So what we are missing is input, but let's first talk about this a bit. Let's try it. And I didn't, oh, I'm missing person here. And something else is completing. Oh, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Let's try this. So we still have kind of update outstanding because that's a tricky one. So let's first test if we managed to do this. So we started unmapped fields, none we map, but just this doesn't do anything yet. So let's go here, and I think we need to reflow to bright. We don't want to do this anymore. We want to create a person. And immediately, so let's say that we want to return ID and a name. If I pass null here, GraphQL won't allow me to do this because we marked that as mandatory in our schema. It's update create person here. So the name is mandatory. So GraphQL won't allow me to do this. But GraphQL will allow me to do this. And this kind of doesn't make sense. So this is what I was kind of referring when I mentioned that you need to be really, really careful what kind of input you allow. Because I can continue doing this. And so if we go, so we don't want movies, we want people now. And let's have an ID and a name. We have a bunch of people without a name, which doesn't mean anything. So obviously we need to protect against this. And an easy way to do this is just by using Jakarta bean validation. That dependency used to be bundled with Spring Boot Starter, but it's not anymore. So we'll need to add it. Let's go. So this is test. H2, this is database. So here is a good kind of place. We want to add a dependency of Spring Boot Starter validation. Perfect. And we need to go into our person controller, and we just need to say that we want this to be valid. For update, no. For update, we need to validate manually. Again, we will see why. And let's just go into our create person. And so what do we want to validate? We want to validate non-blank. So blank will protect us against this. You can put non-empty, but non-empty won't protect you against white space. And let's say that we want to protect the size. Will we allow one letter? I mean, somebody can. We won't, protect against that. For minimum, we won't put minimum. So we will allow, for example, one letter names, but we will set maximum. I don't know. Let's say something that we can test easily. So maybe 10. 100 might be better. So I'll probably change this to 100, but just so we can test it here, I'll leave it at 10. Birth year, this is a tricky one. So we will define a minimum here, but we won't define a maximum. There are actually, I think, some new validations that can define present, but I want to add this as a service level validation, and we'll add this in the next class just to define certain exceptions. So for now, we will just validate a minimum of, let's say, 1,850. So we do not accept actors or directors born before this year. And for nationality, let's define a minimum of 2, 3. What's the minimum? Let's say 2, maybe. Can't say a nationality. It's okay. US, is that a nationality? No. But okay, let's have 2. Would you say American? But yeah, anyway, minimum 2 and max, again, something that we can easily test. I'll probably change this to 100, but let's say 10, just so we can test it here manually. And let's restart this. So good thing about H2 database is that every time I start it, I have good data, kind of a good starting point. I really like that for development. So this shouldn't be allowed now. We don't get a meaningful error, but that's just because we didn't put error handling. But here we can see that our create person input name must not be blank. So in the logs, we can obviously see what's the problem. Just to verify, so before this was valid, obviously now it won't be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this should be allowed. 10 is the borderline. It's allowed. So maximum 10, but 11 shouldn't be allowed. So let's leave this at 10. We can define a birth year of 149, which won't be allowed, but 50 should be. And our nationality. So 1 shouldn't be allowed, but 2 should. But again, 11 shouldn't be. So, I mean, this data is not meaningful, but I just don't need to type. We don't need valid data. We're just validating business rules. Obviously, if I do this, now we have a bunch of garbage here, but when we restart, that will be gone. And now we need to talk about updates. A tricky thing about an update is it's kind of doing a patch in REST. You need to distinguish between, so when you send, let's go to the code. So obviously we need to validate this. Actually, we should probably validate that our long is not null. No, but we marked that here, so we don't need to validate it. Now, so for update, let's have let's have them like this. So we always need a long, and that will be validated through the schema. I mean, we can add our bean validation that this is not null or something, but I don't think it's needed. But these 3 here are kind of tricky because we don't need to pass them, but we need a way to distinguish between not passing them and explicitly setting them as empty or null. And there is a really, really good way to do that. So we will wrap this into argument value of type string. In this case, I'll just take this and copy it here and here. And basically by doing this, we can check on our server side if this was passed in. And the way we do that is, no, I think I did a boo-boo. No, we do want it for the name, just we need to handle the name in special sense because we can't set name to blank. So we can't use a bean validation here because it's not mandatory to pass it in. But again, you can't set it explicitly to null or empty. So we need to add kind of a business rule, business validation that kind of we prevent that. And actually, it might be good to, let's create kind of a special exception for this. We'll be doing this a lot in the next class, but we have it here, and I just don't want to throw some random exceptions. So let's throw invalid input exception. We will extend from runtime exception. And we will provide string field. We will provide a field that was problematic, and let's have a getter for this, and let's add a message, string message. We'll call super with the message, and I think this looks good. This looks enough for now. So we can even go to our person service. Where is our person service? Person service. And since this is kind of a business rule, but it's not invalid input, so we won't throw it here. Yeah, that's not invalid input. Where was I? So I want to go delete movie control person service. And we are updating our person. So the reason I added invalid input, it's kind of, we need to special way to handle when somebody tries to set person's name to null or empty. So we check that by if input.name so if it's not omitted, and I like Lang. Does this one have blank? It doesn't have blank. It's empty. No. Let's go here. We'll add a dependency. This one. String utils. I want this one. So if it's not omitted and if it's blank, input dot name. What is? I want this. Oh. And so the problem is name. Name can't be blank. Did I create this incorrectly? No, we have field and a message. No. So, oh, I didn't close this. So this value. So we don't want to check for null. We want to check if it's blank. Invalid valid input. This looks good. So obviously we don't want this anymore. So we want to return person repository. But we need to check first if it exists. Update. So let's person repository find by ID if present. I don't want that. I want person optional. If it's not present, for now, we won't throw an exception. We'll do that in the next class. So we want to return what do we want to throw here? Turn, for now, just runtime exception. We'll handle this in the next class. It won't quit. The whole point of the next class is handling handling exceptions. I need that new, not return, throw new. Is empty. So what we want to do here is we want to have a local variable, and we'll have a person and let's do so this apply if present, and we will input name, set name. Oh, here we want to create this method, and I want to apply this. Let's add this D here. This will be a consumer of type D, and this will be a setter. So if this is not the name, this is the argument or field, or let's call it R. If it's present, I just had it. Is present, not omitted, is present. We want setter to accept value of argument value. And this is a void. Why this needs a string? Argument accept. Consumer setter. am I missing? Void apply if present argument. So we want D here. So now this works. And obviously we want the same. So apply birth here and apply nationality. This looks good. Hopefully I got it from the first time. Let's try this. So a lot of stuff to test. Let's open a new tab. And did I open? I thought I opened a new tab. So here, we don't want an update person here. Let's update our person here. And let's just take the first one. So obviously, if we put this and so not I want name here. That's it. It's complaining. So we should get an error here. That person could not be found. That's just our runtime person. Where's my person controller? Person controller. That's service. It's so late. My brain doesn't work anymore. So that's our runtime controller that we will just fix in the next class. But for our person one, so this, we didn't change anything. So obviously this is a valid operation. But if we provide a name of empty, this shouldn't be allowed. Again, we will map this to a nicer exception, but we're getting our invalid input that the name can't be blank. So we can just put changed and Mr. Frank, it's called changed now. And obviously we didn't change any of these. And we call this a few times. So obviously if I pass nationality here and we switch him to Irish, I could have added that here, but so obviously he's Irish now and his birth year didn't change yet, but actually we should have validated here as well. So we're not validating the same business rules that we did on input, but let's pretend that we didn't notice that for now. So what else? So we want to change birth year to 2000. And obviously that's here. Well, maybe we could have easier tested that here. So if I add all of these, so obviously we can see, I can call this many times. If I add this, it will change it. I can set this to empty because we don't validate that. I can set this to 1 because we don't validate that. And obviously that's also something that we should change. Let me just quickly add that. I could could have added that here. Let's leave that for some time in the future. We'll pretend that we haven't seen that, and we already learned how to do service-side validations. So let's leave that for some future time. That's basically it from validations. So we learned how to use all three of them. So kind of create, update, and delete. And we actually didn't shoot any request where we sent multiple ones. So create, update, and delete in a single request. But you can try that in exercises. In the next class, we will improve our error handling. So that's really important in GraphQL, especially because I'm not even sure if I showed that so far, but you can get in the same response, you can get both data, resolved data, and errors. So it's really, really valuable to have descriptive errors, so your clients can quickly realize what they did wrong. But yeah, we'll dive into that in the next class. So see ya.